So if you're looking to move to Italy but you can't quite make up your mind as to which area of the country that you want to live in, this video is for you. Today we're going to be looking at certain areas of Italy that you should take into consideration and also certain factors to think about before coming here. Ciao a tutti, benvenuti sul mio canale, David's Dose of Italy. Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel today. If by chance we're meeting for the first time, once again, my name is David, welcome. And I've been living in this country since 2009. I've traveled extensively and I have a good idea of what to look for when choosing a town in this country. And today I'm hoping to pass that knowledge on to you. Now, I haven't lived all over the country, so I don't really know what it's like to live in certain areas of Italy. However, I have lived in Rome, which is where I live now, Ostia, and still Rome, Napoli, and Salerno. All right, let's get started. Cominciamo. Now, to start off, I would say that the phrase that encompasses this whole analysis is, it depends. It's subjective. It depends on you. It depends on where you're at in life. It depends on your age, your income. Do you prefer cities? Do you prefer small towns? So there are many factors to consider. Italy? Really? Why? No, I'm just kidding. However, you will get asked that question from the locals here. They think it's crazy when people want to move here. Okay, now let's divide Italy up into three sections. There's the north, the central, and the south. Now keep in mind, what I'm about to say about the south and also the other areas of Italy is purely my interpretation, and these are really generalizations. There are always exceptions to everything. Please keep that in mind. Generally speaking, southern Italy is not really the place where you go to if you're looking for work or if you're looking to make a lot of money. And if you do happen to find work there, the salaries are generally lower than they are in other parts of the country. Some people may disagree with me on this next one, but in my opinion, southern Italy is a little bit more disorganized, and I think the infrastructure is not quite up to par as it is in other parts of the country. I say this because I've seen it firsthand and I have lived with this idea of disorganization, so I'm not exactly a newcomer here. Yet, in my opinion, I think southern Italy for certain aspects is really underrated. For example, if you're looking for a more slower pace of life, then this might be the area of Italy for you. Also, and this is just my opinion, and there's also exceptions, I think people tend to be a bit friendlier and more open than they are in other parts of the country. Food? Yeah, they got that. That's an understatement. I love Southern Italian food. I think it's some of the best in the country. I am biased, yes, I know that. But I stand by my opinion. Southern Italy is also very rich in culture, and this is due to centuries of foreign occupation, the Arabs, the Spaniards, etc., etc. And so you could spend a whole lifetime in Italy, in Southern Italy, excuse me, and you haven't seen half of it. Also, for some people, Southern Italy is considered the real Italy. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people, like myself, our roots are from this part of the country. And so whenever we think of the old country, generally we think of the South. This is where my family was from about 100 years ago. Thanks to a priest, I was able to find this address. So it's a little hole in the wall here on a busy street, but that's where they're from. Next is northern Italy. I haven't lived there, but I've been there plenty of times. Now, contrary to the south, northern Italy is known for where the work is. As a matter of fact, people for years have been migrating from the south to go up and work in the north. In fact, a lot of teachers in the public schools do come from the south. I've seen that firsthand. Northern Italy is also known to be a bit more organized than the south, and I have a very specific example that I want to share with you, which I think illustrates the point. My wife and I went to Trentino Alto Adige, which is an area in northern Italy which borders Austria. We were waiting for a bus one afternoon, and we looked at the schedule, and the schedule said the bus will arrive at this bus stop at 5:22. I looked at my wife and I said, okay, si vabbè, 5:22. Yeah, but that's exactly what happened. The bus came at exactly that time. Impressive. Now, I'm not saying that this is indicative of the overall organization in northern Italy, but still, that's just something that has always stuck out in my mind. In northern Italy, you also have some of the most important cities in Italy, and these are Venice, Milan, Genova, and Torino. Geographically speaking, northern Italy is close to other European countries, for example, France, Switzerland, Austria, Slovenia. Now, in regards to English, in regards to other expats that speak it or Italians that speak English, I think in northern Italy you might find more of both categories. From what I've seen, the south, however, tends to have less proficient English speakers. This was frustrating. However, as an English teacher, this means that I always had work. Now, one of the biggest criticisms that I hear about the North is that the people tend to not be as open and friendly as they are in the South. So if you're used to Southern Italy and that culture, that society, then northern Italy might come as a bit of a culture shock to you, so that's just something to keep in mind. Our third category is central Italy, and these are the regions of Toscana, Umbria, Lazio, and Le Marche. I'm not a huge expert on this area of Italy. However, I have visited all the regions except for Le Marche. Based on what I've heard and just my own impression, I do think that central Italy resembles a bit more the north in regards to cleanliness, organization, stuff like that. I have always had a good time in these areas, more or less, and I love pretty much everything about them. The food, the architecture, the cleanliness, the tranquility. I'm sure that they have their horrors as well. But until I lived there, this has been my impression. However, there is one distinct disadvantage of this area of Italy, which I can vouch for, and this is the fact that it's more or less towards the center of the country, and anybody who knows Italy knows that, unfortunately, the closer you get towards the center, then you are more prone to feeling an earthquake. Now, I know that the whole country is susceptible to earthquakes, really, but I would actually avoid the center of the country if I were looking to relocate to Italy just for that specific reason. You never know. Moving right along, let's talk about geological factors in Italy. I think that this is a very important factor to consider when you're moving to Italy because your surrounding area can really dictate how you live your life in Italy. Fortunately, Italy has a lot to offer. For example, if you like living in a mountainous area, there are plenty of areas where you can find that. If you prefer to live in an area with a lot of green, with a lot of forests, then there's that too. There are also plenty of lakes, so if you want to be near a body of water but not necessarily the sea, then there are plenty to choose from in Italy. For example, I've been to Lago di Bracciano, which is about an hour north of Rome. Me and my wife visited some of the little towns there, and I thought it was actually a very decent area. Granted, I've never lived there, but it looked okay. And probably the biggest one is the sea. Now, Italy being a peninsula, you are surrounded by the Mediterranean Sea. So if you really want to retire or if you want to just live in a beach town, then God, you've got your pick. I've heard that some of the best beaches are in Calabria and also in Sardinia, but yeah, we'd be a fool to think that other areas in Italy don't offer great beaches. I'm not really a beach goer, so unfortunately I can't give a lot of recommendations, although I have been to the beaches in Sicily, some in Campania, and I remember once I went to some of the beaches in Toscana, more specifically in the Maremma region, and there I found a lot of open beaches in the sense that you go there, you bring everything. You bring the umbrella, the blanket, the food, etc., etc. Next, let's talk about living in the big cities, in particular Rome and Naples. I mention these two because I lived in Naples for 2 years and I have been here in Rome since 2015. I would say that living in a big city in Italy really is no exception to living in other big cities in the world. No matter where you go in the world, you're most likely to find noise, traffic, pollution, crime, etc., etc. However, I would say that these factors can greatly be reduced, and this really depends on which part of town that you choose to live in. So before you come and live in a big city, it's really important to scout out the area. Now, there are multiple ways that you can do this. So here's what I think is the best scenario. When you have finally decided a place in Italy where you want to live, go there. Spend about a week there, and this way you can get a feel for the people, the area, and maybe after a week you can finally make a decision if this is really the place for you. Something else that you could do, which I have done myself, is try and reach out to other people that live in the area where you want to go. Yeah, you could possibly go to a Facebook group. You could also go to online forums like Quora, Reddit, and just get a feel for what they say. Now, granted, this should be taken with a grain of salt because everybody has their own perception on reality in the place where they live. Maybe somebody might like a town, whereas for you it's just, no. However, if you are looking to retire in Italy, then my gut tells me that this is probably not the place for you, because I imagine when you're a bit older, maybe you're tired of the city and you want a little bit of quiet. Now, I'm not saying that there's no quiet areas in the Italian cities, really, but let's just say that I think that they're harder to find. That's been my experience. Now, while Rome and Naples are two radically different cities, they are still big cities. And when you live in this kind of environment, there's always something to do. There's a lot to explore. There's history at your fingertips. Personally, I was never bored, and I'm never bored in these kind of areas. Housing is more expensive in the big cities in Italy. Please keep this in mind. Another important factor is, or are, expats. In other words, do you want to live in an area where you can easily find people that speak your language, people from your country, or are you looking for a more full immersion experience where you're only surrounded by Italians? Me personally, I would choose the latter, and the reason why is when you're moving to Italy, I think it's important to really get the full experience, to really know the country. And the best way to do that is to have as little contact as possible with your culture and people from your country. This is also the best way to learn a language. Just take the dive and just fully immerse yourself in the language. You have to live it. Devi parlare l'italiano. Punto. By the way, if you are in fact considering taking a class to learn Italian before you come here, then check out the description of this video, and I have included a link for the EUS Language School in New York. So if you're interested, click on the link, and at the time of checkout, use my discount code and you will receive $50 off. Andiamo avanti. Now, if you are looking to still be around your language and still mingle with expats and, not fully immerse yourself in Italian culture, then I would suggest maybe going to the north or maybe even bigger cities, because there you're most likely to find more English speakers and just more fluency. Granted, like I keep saying in this video again and again, there are always exceptions to this rule. Now, something else which would be important for me is being around a major airport. So if you're somebody who frequently flies back and forth between your country or just wants to travel frequently, then I would consider living in an area which is close enough to an airport. And I say that because it is possible to live in certain towns where you are hours away from the nearest airport, and so that could be a bit of an inconvenience. Now, there is another important factor that I want to consider, and that is the idea of work. Now, this video is not about where to work in Italy. It's more about how to choose the area where to live. However, I will say a few things about working here. Now, it's one thing to come here and to look for a job in the Italian job market. So where you live could greatly determine this, really. And as I said before, you're most likely to find something a bit better paid up in the north. But this really depends on what you do for a living and what your skill set is. Now, to avoid this situation, to avoid having to come here and start from scratch, I think the best thing to do is before you come here, make sure that you are already financially independent. Now, that's not easy, I understand that, but there are ways to do that, and me personally, this is one of my goals in the future. Some practical ways to do that is if you are retired here, make sure you are receiving a pension and some form of passive income, maybe from investments. So if you do have some income streams from passive income before you move here, I think that's a wonderful situation, and it can really come in handy here. Something else to consider is maybe working for your company of origin, but here in Italy remotely. So if your company offers that, I would definitely look into that possibility. So what is my pick? Well, in actuality, there are many areas in Italy where I could possibly be happy. I'm here in Rome, really, and I must say we are here for work reasons. Now, I'm not complaining about living in Rome, but let's just say that I think that there are other areas in Italy which I would like. So I need a place which is quiet. I need privacy. Yes, I'm American. We love our privacy. Has to be safe. Has to be clean. I like organization. I need to be around green spaces, within a short walk or a short distance of a park or a forest or just something peaceful and green. I also need access to an airport, like I was saying before, and I'm not too crazy about the sea. But would I live in an area where you are very close to the sea? I suppose so, sure. Oh yes, of course. Decent schools for my daughter. That just goes without saying. So now, based on all these factors that I've just mentioned, where would that place me in Italy? I think that it would probably be somewhere in Tuscany. I've been there many times. I've always had a good impression, and I just think that it's, generally speaking, a good area to live in Italy. I'm sure there are downsides to it, really, but I've been impressed. Let's just leave it at that. Grazie mille. For this week's expression, I'd like to use one that we also use in English. So in English, we tend to say the grass is always greener on the other side. From personal experience, this is very true. And in Italian, they would say this: l'erba del vicino è sempre più verde. Do make sure that you subscribe with the bell turned on for more videos like this in the future. I make language-related videos, but I also do videos which are of a helpful and practical nature in regards to tourism, language, and culture. Grazie mille per l'attenzione. Ci vediamo alla prossima. Thank you very much for watching today. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.